Hey everyone, it's Cameron with Car Audio Now again. Thanks for tuning in today. Today I'm going to unbox and review some of the features of this legendary shallow subwoofer. This is the JL Audio TW3. In this case, it's a 12-inch. I am working on a project for a Ford F-150 and had one of these laying around that I'm going to be leveraged, so I figured I'd do a quick write-up. This subwoofer lineup was actually introduced a while back in 2012, so they've been around for a while, but they're still one of the best performing, most well-rounded shallow subwoofers on the market, given their depth. Pretty incredible to think that these things have actually been around for about 10 years now. Some really innovative technology in this lineup. The TW3 lineup is comprised of a 10-inch and 12-inch size. This is the 12-inch dual 4-ohm voice coil version. They also have a dual 8-ohm voice coil option as well. So I'm going to open up this brand new JL, show you what's in the box, and then walk through all of its core features and technology that makes this one of Car Audio Now's best rated shallow subwoofers, and one that I personally prefer to use in my own vehicles. So let's go ahead and open this thing up and see what's inside. So I've spared you some time and pulled the sub out along with all of its components that were in the box. This is what you get. The subwoofer comes with a few documents here that you can see. You have your manual, which has a lot of good information about the dimensions, the specs, wiring configurations, and so on, bridging, um, registration, stickers, those sort of documents. It doesn't come with any additional hardware like mounting screws or mounting hole or template or anything. So if you need that, you're going to want to go ahead and purchase those mounting, the mounting hardware separately, in particular, obviously mounting screws. It's just straight to the point, subwoofer, and that's really it. This particular sub was purchased from Crutchfield.com, so it also came with one of their pamphlets as well. So next I want to talk about the specs a little bit, but before I do, let's talk about this video's sponsor, Crutchfield. Crutchfield.com is one of the leading retailers of automotive, marine, home stereo equipment, and much more. Whether you're looking for speakers or subwoofers that will fit your vehicle, an aftermarket head unit, you name it, Crutchfield's going to have it. Between their vehicle outfitter tool where you can type in your vehicle information and find all the speaker sizes and specs, wiring, along with fitting products, or reaching out to one of their expert advisors via chat or phone to ask questions, planning your dream car stereo, and purchasing your products has never been easier than it is on Crutchfield. I personally reference a variety of their research articles and tools and talk to their advisors sometimes. I highly recommend them as a starting point to any car stereo project and for all your stereo product needs. You can purchase this JL TW3 directly from their website by using the link in the description below or by navigating to www.crutchfield.com. Okay, so back to the specs. This is the 12-inch version of the subwoofer, so it has a mounting depth of only 3.5 inches deep. It's very shallow. The 10-inch version actually has a mounting depth of 3.25 inches. Its X-max or one-way linear excursion rating is 0.6 inches. That's how far it travels in one direction linearly. It's rated to handle between 125 and up to 400 watts RMS, so it can handle a good amount of power. And this particular model is the dual 4-ohm voice coil. I mentioned this earlier, but there's also a dual 8-ohm model of the 12-inch and the 10-inch. So plenty of wiring options for running these subwoofers in parallel or in a series or at whatever ohms you need. I'm going to go ahead next and clear off the table here and just focus on the subwoofer and start to dig into its core features. So let me do that. Okay, so let's dig into some of the design and the features of this sub, starting with the cone side here. There's a couple things to note, cool things to note when you're looking at the front of the subwoofer like this. On the outer part of the sub, you'll notice that JL uses and has designed these mounting tab ears that they call 4 tabs with 4 pairs of screw holes essentially. And what I like about this design is that it significantly reduces the outer diameter of this sub. So from left to right and then from top to bottom here, it's significantly reduced in terms of the outer diameter. And this is great for installs that are limited in terms of the length and the width of your enclosure. You can throw these tabs here into sort of a corner of the enclosure, and in theory the mounting surface of your enclosure only needs to be 11.625 inches, square, 11.625 here and here, right? And you can see these are tucked, these tabs here are tucked below the most outer part of the diameter. So in that compare, that 11.625 inches is compared to sort of the traditional round subwoofer at around, maybe a little over 12, all the way up to 13 and a half inches for a 12-inch subwoofer. So great idea here, and has actually made an impact on some of the design of my own boxes that I've made personally to squeeze these into small spaces. Looking inward, the surround here, this is made of rubber. It surrounds a mica filled polypropylene cone. One of the cool and unique features on the sub, though, is actually the center here of the dust cap. This is a aluminum dust cap, and on the back side of it, so if you pull this out, the backside of it is a series of vents or holes that allow heat to escape from the voice coil at the back, at the center of the structure. So this actually this acts as a heat sink. JL's design here was to take and cool the structure via this dust cap, but also by channeling air through the dust cap and then out to the surrounding parts of the frame for dispersion. Obviously, heat is a huge component in tight spaces, and I thought this was a unique and innovative way to disperse heat without adding additional components that would ultimately increase the overall depth of the woofer. And then turning or lifting this to show a little bit of the side profile here, you can really start to get a sense of how shallow these subwoofers are, right? The rule of thumb with these subs is you use the width of your wrist or your fist to basically gauge whether or not these are going to fit somewhere. They're very shallow, and it's a very easy way to kind of spot check an area. And then moving, you can see these are pretty heavy. Moving to the back side here. The first thing you're going to notice is where's the magnet? Where's the motor structure? What JL did here, you can see this flat surface. What JL did here to reduce the mounting depth of these subs is take the motor structure that would sit traditionally right here on the outside of sort of the voice, below the voice coil, on the back side of this structure and protrude here. They shoved it into the frame. And they did this by using a molded structure, and you can kind of see here along the inside this molded structure that secures the spider on the outer part rather than on the inner part of the structure. That's what allowed them to basically take this motor structure here and then fit it inside of the structure rather than on the top. And this is the big feature in terms of design and technology that allows these subs to really be super shallow without sacrificing too much excursion in such a tight frame. So if you compare the 0.6-inch excursion, the linear excursion that I mentioned earlier in this video of this subwoofer to a JL 12W6, for example, which is a traditional size subwoofer, that W6 has a 0.75-inch, a 3/4-inch linear excursion. But that subwoofer is also about 7.5 inches deep. So you really get a sense of how efficient this design is in terms of space. So this TW3 here is 4 inches shallower than that W6, but only sacrificed 0.15 inches of linear excursion, at least when, and again, that is at least when you compare it to the W6, of course. And at the time of their release, the JL Audio TW3 and the TW5 were really the only subs that incorporated this innovative design. You'll see some other subwoofers, like I mentioned, the TW5 that share this same kind of frame and structure technology. Something else to point out, though, as well, if I flip this over one more time, JL says that the actual travel of these TW subs can reach up to 2.15 inches. So this cone and this dust cap actually will move laterally here. Not laterally, horizontally here. vertically. This will actually move over 2 inches. I thought that this was pretty interesting, and really incredible if you think about the fact that this is a 3.5 inch deep subwoofer. The cone can actually move 2/3 of the depth of the subwoofer. These things can really move some serious air. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is the enclosure requirements for these subs. This particular 12 TW3 D4 in front of me here is going to go under the seat of a Ford F-150, which is limited in terms of the height and also has a slant, making the volume a little bit more challenging. These subs were designed for that though, and they only require a zero point 0.8 cubic foot sealed enclosure volume and a 0.95 cubic foot ported enclosure, so pretty small. So you can throw these into a tiny enclosure and still expect them to perform. It's perfect for behind the seat, or in my use case, under the truck seat or in a tight coupe or something. Low requirements in terms of the volume. You can find all the mounting depth and of course, the volume information included in the owner's manual as well. And then finally, the last thing that I want to cover today is really the wiring configurations for this sub. And I'll keep this light. I'm not going to go through the differences between running a sub in parallel series and so on. There's tons of other videos out there to describe that. But in the manual that you see on the screen here, JL details out how to wire this subwoofer in a series or parallel. So by bridging, and let me flip this over real quick here, give you a good look. By bridging the voice coils here, like you see on the diagrams here, you can essentially wire this dual 4 ohm sub to 8 ohms, 4, 2.7, all the way down to 0.7 ohms if you're running 3 of them in parallel. They give you all these options. You can really get the most out of these in terms of your power usage and your setup, and have a variety of options for wiring depending on your application and your amplifiers. And I like how just in general JL makes this pretty dummy proof with all the wiring diagrams that they have. So for me, I'll actually be using the 2 ohm wiring configuration that you see. It's pretty straightforward and easy to configure, and it's probably one of the more common configurations that you're going to run a single sub in. That's all I had for you today. I recently purchased one of these TW3s for an upcoming project in an F-150 and figured I'd give you a quick walkthrough. I appreciate you tuning into the video. If you like walkthroughs and videos like this of some of the cool audio, speaker, digital products on the market, you can support us by clicking the subscribe button below. Thanks.